All right, I guess we are live. So, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Merch Girl Boss Edition YouTube. I've got Neil Lassen with us today from Merch Informer and Book Bolt. And if you don't know who he is, then I don't know, you're living in the dark ages. So, very excited to have you on with us or
Thanks
with
for
me.
having me.
We were supposed to
Yeah, we
have
should have
two
two
other
extra
people,
guests.
but nope, it's
They
just
kn-
us tonight.
they no showed on us.
They did. But it's cool. It'll be fun. I'm glad that you're joining me tonight. So, um,
So how you been?
been good. I've been good. In fact, I've been using Merch Informer and Book Bolt a lot more lately for research. So I think that would be a good thing to talk about tonight, and a big focus on research in general. I think is the plan for the show tonight. So I know
Good.
you've got the research down pat. Like I've watched your over the shoulders. I've watched your YouTube episodes and channels on it. So
My
really
random
excited.
ramblings.
But you know what is nice about your ramblings? You can when you're just kind of doing it and you're in the zone, you drop nuggets without even realizing that you're dropping them, or glitter bombs, I should say. And and I've really learned a lot just from watching that.
Good. Yeah, I think a lot of people. I'm just reading the comments over here. So you see me
Yeah,
glancing over here.
I'm trying to.
I,
I'm
I
the
think
worst at that part. I'm like, I'm a terrible host, people. I'm sorry.
I think a lot of people with the research process think about it the wrong way, and I think
Okay.
that's why everyone gets hung up on it. So like literally right before we jumped on here, um, as an example, what do most people do when they want to research something? They think of some broad niche,
Hmm.
dogs, right? And they head over to Amazon and they type in, dog T-shirt or dog pop socket, and they look at what all is available, right? And then what does most people do? They find something that's selling well, they find something with some
Yeah.
reviews, and they go, all right, let's just make another design like this, and they put it up. And then 30 days later, those are the same people who come to the Facebook groups and start complaining about their sales. Oh,
So
they're
how
not.
should they change their thought process when they originally began researching?
I think that used to work. The thing, okay, so let's go back. It used to work to find a broad niche and just put up anything, and it would sell like
Yeah.
that. It was crazy, and then it changed where for example, I used to look at my desk and I'd say, okay, I have a knife on my desk, so I'd type in knife T-shirt, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, there's not very many shirts, so I make a knife T-shirt, I put it up, and a few days later it would sell. Well, more people are merged, research becomes a little bit more important. So then you say, okay, I want to go into the knife niche. You look around, okay, I want to make a knife T-shirt for chefs. Okay, so then you'd put that up, and a few days later that would sell. But now what I like to do is I kind of like to back into it. So you need to go more niche. So for example, um, what I was looking up right before we got on, talking about knives. So if you were to go, you want to put something in the knife niche, right? But it's super saturated. You want to put something in the chef niche that's also super saturated. So if you narrow that down even more, so sushi chefs, the people that make all our delicious food.
Yeah, and
Um,
all their knife tricks. Yeah.
yeah, so exactly, right? So that's really niche. But the way I go into it is I think to myself, okay, so what does a sushi chef use? I have no idea. So I looked it up, and they use this thing. Let me see if I still have it open. They use this thing called a fugu biki. Fuju biki. It's a type of knife, right?
Mhm.
So I took that and I went over to Amazon and I typed that in, and there's zero results. Zero. So what you do is you put that up on a shirt, but you're not going to use a bunch of keywords that no one knows about Fuju biki. There's nothing that exists on Amazon for that. So that's your niche, your very, very small niche. But what you do is you look at the major niche for all your keywords. And I
Okay.
think that's what people don't do. They just look at the major niche and use those keywords with a really bland, boring design, and it's not niched down enough. So you want to niche down your research and then use the keywords from the big overarching niche.
Wow, so I see where I've messed up myself because I always feel like I shouldn't be using those big general keywords because everybody's using them. How do you get seen even with a niche down design? Because you might put in that random keyword. I that's what trips me up.
I think
Cause
you mix them. You mix them.
okay.
So like using the same example, right? Sushi is the main overarching niche. It's huge. People sell a lot of shirts there. I sell some shirts there. It's hard to get seen now for that, right? But
Mhm.
if you don't use any of the sushi keywords for shirts, like even if you So taking the example of the Fujibiki or whatever it's called knife, if you make that design and you don't put any sushi keywords in there, you're never going to rank for that major niche. So if you put some keywords for, some niche down keywords and also some keywords in the big niche, if you get sales for the niche down keywords, you're automatically going to rank higher and higher in the big niche. And that's how you over time get enough traction, which I think people,
Yeah.
they don't, one, they're not patient. Two, the strategy, it takes a while. And three, you're not going to get 400 sales a day on this tiny little niche that only, a few buyers are buying each day. But if you put that up, you will be the only person currently.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. I've never thought about going in it on the back, like backwards, really narrowing it down and then putting your research on top of that and looking at all the way up to the general. Almost like, what do they call, like a funnel but backwards? I don't know.
I don't know. That's just the way I look at, like, everything is just backing into whatever goal that you want. If you want to hit X
Yeah.
number of sales or X number of dollars, like, okay, back that in. Like, what royalty are you going to get? How many shirts do you need to sell to hit that royalty? And I don't know. It's just a different way of thinking. That's kind of what I've done since the beginning.
Now, is that how you tackle? Because I know you've been really working on KDP. You've got the book bolt up now and everything. Are you doing your research similar to that even on KDP, or is it more general like it used to be on merch that you're now applying to KDP?
KDP is a little bit different. What I'm mainly looking, so I already have the design assets. I think everyone listening to this already has designs on merch. So I already have that piece figured out. A lot of these books aren't on, Amazon currently, but I'm kind of looking for general trends, not in the phrases or niches, but I'm looking more as in when you search something, you're going to see a lot of these books have a certain type of background, maybe a flowery background. So what I'll do is I'll either get one created or find one that's free to use, commercial use, something like that. And then I'll put all of my designs on top of that because for some reason that makes them stick out more and people buy them.
That's actually really smart.
So what
Just
you
use
can
the
do,
same background.
so let's just say you have a dog t-shirt design. You take that design, you put a flowery background on it, and you put that for sale. And then you're like, okay, well maybe dog people like I don't know, I don't have a dog. Maybe they like a background of just like a bunch of bones, right?
Yeah.
So then you put that up. So you use the same design and you just create multiple covers, and then you can split test. What sells, what works, what are people buying.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. How do you use BookBolt to look at that sort of research just on designs? Just put in like dog journals and see what comes up and see like what trends are happening with, say, bone backgrounds. Is
Yeah,
that
so
what are you?
you can do the keyword searches, which I'll do probably second. But the first thing I'll do is I'll log in. I'll go to the cloud, which basically just shows like the best sellers, and I'll kind of see what kind of trends are people purchasing. I'm not specifically looking for the niche. So if I see a bunch of nursing stuff selling, I'm kind of looking for how did they lay out the actual covers, because a lot of them, a lot of the designs on KDP are just text. Like
Yeah, I've
simple
noticed
stuff that
too.
you can crank out in 10 seconds and throw up on KDP. But what makes the text stick out is, the little border. It's very similar to pop sockets.
Ah, that's a good way of looking at it. And I agree. I do agree with that.
I don't want to say it's an accessory because it's not really an accessory, but the people that buy these books, if they're buying them for, taking notes while they're bird watching or something, they like something that looks cute or something that's relevant, not necessarily something that's just super plain. So anything to make
Well,
it pop a little bit.
well, I know for me, like when I have my journals and notebooks and stuff, I like to feel inspired by them for whatever I'm using it for. Funny, half of them are just plain and black, but I don't know, it inspires me. I don't want something that isn't inspiring. So I can see why people would like things that look good and, appeal to their emotions. And if it's got like that catchy phrase that they can relate to, all of that makes them want to hit that buy button.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing with KDP that I think is I like better than merch, the merch aspect, is that you can reuse the same design with different interiors and it's a different book. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a dog design, okay, and maybe you want to do a dog journal, That's great. Well, what about a music sheet interior for people who like dogs but also create music, or people who are, graph paper, people who are in school graphing, math. So there's just so much that you can do. There's no limits. So that's why I've been focusing on KDP, because no one's doing it. I can, harp
Now
on it
that
until I'm.
everybody's talking about it now, though, so but
But,
it's
but
a little bit
still,
harder.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's harder. I think people are intimidated by it.
Well, there's more steps. It's not as simple as just filling in. I mean, it is, but it isn't. There's a little bit more involved. You have to be a little bit more patient, and the research is newer for us
Yeah.
because we've been doing it one way for since merch has been merged, and now it's a little bit different, and that can be intimidating. But I do think what I like about KDP is how limitless it really does seem, and like another way, like the research would be different even in that, because you can really just go in with a brand new idea that it hasn't been tested or there isn't competition for, and actually do well with it. You just don't know unless you put it up,
Yep. And the
especially
thing,
with the interiors, I think.
well, yeah, and you're not competing against 100,000 other people in the big niches for merch, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you go right now and you just look on Amazon for, what are the big niches in merch?
Unicorns.
Unicorns,
Yeah.
people riding dinosaurs, like stuff like that. Like there's probably a couple thousand results now, but in the very beginning there was nothing, because no one was doing it. And you can also price your stuff like really low, like
Yeah.
$7. No one thinks about spending $7 for anything when they're buying stuff on Amazon. They really don't. So it's always like an impulse purchase, I feel
Yeah, like
like.
wow, it's under $10. I'm gonna buy like 3 of them for my friends.
Yep.
Ching. Yeah, that's true. And I always sometimes in my bullets, which is a little bit of a glitter bomb. I don't know if it works or not. I've only sold, just a few, but I'll put like gifts under $10 because I think people search for that.
People do.
I've seen it on the drop down bar on Amazon. So it's like, heck, I'm gonna put that in there because you never know.
That's I have not been doing that. That's a good I should try
You're
that.
welcome.
That's a good
Thanks.
tip. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good.
Um, so do you just use BookBolt for your research for KDP, or do you just like use
Yeah.
Amazon? Are
So
you looking at other books, other accessories
I'm
aside
probably
from
going to
journals, or
I'm probably going to get there, but I mean, currently I have a bunch of designs, right? So what I'll do is I'll go through BookBolt and I'll look through what's selling. I'll look at the layout, the background, stuff like that, and then I'll just use the designer. I mean, that's literally why we built the software, is because going into KDP and downloading every
oh,
single
I know.
size template and making sure everything, it's a nightmare. It
Oh, it
takes
is.
it takes forever. So we built a designer, and you just literally drag your design in there, add your background, click download, and then upload it to KDP. So that's literally what I've been doing, is figuring out what people are, what kind of look they're buying, and then just adding it to all my merch designs and then uploading them.
See, that's funny because I'm doing something very similar, and I absolutely love the designer because it has saved me, goodness, so much time. It's unbelievable how efficient the designer is. My favorite part of Bolt for sure.
Well, yeah, it's simple, but it's also like intuitive to use, is what we were kind of aiming for. Is
Yeah.
because me personally, I don't know how many people watching this know me, but Photoshop is not my thing. I can barely get around that. So I can drag and drop, but that's about it. So I wanted something that I could, if I can use it, then anyone else can get their stuff done quickly.
Let's see. I think we've got a couple questions. All right, let's see. Jack Browning is asking, is there a general size to the book template on BookBolt before it resizes and outputs to 6x9 or whatever size you choose?
It's gonna. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but it's gonna basically just upload the file in the dimensions that you have. Like if your dimension is 100 by 100 and you upload that, that's what it's going to be until you resize it in the designer. And then when you download it, it's going to download the PDF that you upload to Amazon in the specific dimensions that you pick. So I'm going to toss together a quick background in Photoshop, then upload it to BookBolt. So yeah, you all you would do is, let's see, hoping it places perfectly on the template.
Well, you have
Yeah,
to move it around a little bit, right? I mean, it's not just going to do it for you because you might
yeah.
want it.
So if you create a background, for example, and you upload it, all you want to do is literally just drag the background to the edges to make sure that it's through the bleed area, and then click download, and then it'll be fine.
And Amy Herberger wants to know what are the steps to use BookBolt.
So everyone should go sign up. It's free for 3 days. You can just poke around, use the designer, do whatever you want. And if you only want to use the designer, you don't want to research anything, all you have to do is go up to the right-hand corner, click on your little name, and then click on the designer and log in. It's literally a drag and drop designer that's super easy to use. So when it pops up, it asks you, do you want to design a cover or an interior? So interiors, you can like create your own, and it'll replicate it over how many pages you pick. For the covers, you're literally just going to click how many pages you want and what dimensions through the drop-down menu, and click go, and it'll actually create it. And the reason that's important is because if you are trying to create a cover, say that's 400 pages, right, for your book, the spine is going to change depending on how many pages you put in there, which is another reason why downloading Amazon templates is just annoying. Because you have to go through the steps and download every specific thing. If you want one book to be 100 pages, the next one to be, maybe you're doing a 250-page huge book, or maybe you're doing a 50-page booklet. You have to change that every single time.
Yeah, that is, you're right, and it gets so tedious. But I mean, some people kind of like doing that too. I prefer using the BookBolt because the designer, because I mean, I can get out so many covers, especially if I already have like my folder of designs ready to go. Just bam, 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 and then if I want to go into another size, bam, 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 and it's really cool. How could somebody use BookBolt for, say, their research? They're new to KDP. They have invested a lot of time in Emerge Informer, so they know that BookBolt is an incredible opportunity as well. How do they get started on research with it?
So if they're familiar with Merch Informer, you'll log into BookBolt. We have something called the Cloud. It's similar to the Merch Hunter. I would just go in there every single day. Like, don't overwhelm yourself. Just go in there and like look at what's selling. I don't copy what's selling. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying look at what's selling. How are they laying things out? Look at what interiors people are using, because a lot of the times you might go in there and you might be, okay, this is a cool cover. Maybe this is a really bad cover. And then you open the book up and you look at their interior and you're like, whoa, I never thought of that. Like, I could make an interior like that and upload it on my 1,000 covers or my 1,000 designs and put that on KDP with a specific interior, maybe a wedding planner or something like that, So I would just go in there. I would look every single day. If you're looking to like niche down or see what's in specific niches, you want to use the product search. That's going to be by keyword. And then you can open those up. Again, look at the interiors, because that is a way that you can differentiate yourself as well.
Now, is that something that you're focused on in what you're doing with KDP right now? Are you looking at just putting up different interiors as well as covers, or are you more focused right now on just the simple lined notebook just to get some stuff out there?
Right now, I'm mainly doing just journals and just like college wide rule type stuff, because I want to get all the easy stuff up because that is, I feel like that's where the opportunity is. The more you can get up now when no one is doing it, the more sales you're going to make in the future, because it might get harder if more people end up doing it. But if you get all the simple stuff up now that starts selling and you get the reviews and the same stuff I've been talking about for 3 years with Merge.
Yeah, I was going to say,
3 years later, you're going to be selling on KDP the same simple stuff, because it's going to outrank everything that comes after it if you have that sales velocity.
Do you use the same description and keywords for all of the notebooks in one niche, or do you change it up?
I change it up depending on the actual design. There'll be a lot of similar keywords in there, but depending on the design, I'll switch it up.
See, I'm kind of playing around with that with BookBolt. BookBolt's really just changed the game for me, but you have the lister where you can put in like the different keywords and stuff. So what I do is I'll take one niche that I want to go into and I'll make like 3 different versions of it and then just kind of just play around. And then I do try to leave a little bit of wiggle room in there to describe like what's on the cover, but I like to use the subtitle for that too, because that's indexed as well.
Right.
But
go ahead.
But I don't know if there's like a wrong way or right way. Would it hurt you, do you think, if you use the same keywords along all your books in one niche, or?
If they're relevant, I don't really think it would hurt. I mean, let's just say you're, going into the nursing niche and one of your keywords is nurse practitioner, and every single design that you put up is relevant to a nurse practitioner for taking notes, then I don't see it being an issue at all. The only thing I can see is that I switch them up a little bit depending on the design, because there are some people, that search very specific things. So I try to get some of those longer tail keywords in there as well. The big thing with KDP though, when you're doing your keyword, is not like merch where you want to put together a coherent sentence.
Yeah.
Like that all goes out the window. It's just I don't know if I should say it sounds bad, but it's just like pure
Stuff
spam.
it. Yeah,
It's
stuff it
it's
like a
just
turkey,
it's
honey. Stuff
keyword
it.
after keyword after no commas, no nothing. You get 50, I think it's 50 characters a box,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
just type as fast as possible all the keywords. It makes zero sense, but the customer never sees it. That's why you can do that, because it's back end keywords. It's not going to mess with the customer experience. So in that regard, I think it's a lot easier. Whatever just comes to your mind, or if you're doing the research and you want to use specific keywords that you find, you just toss those in there as fast as possible.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts too. And it's like, man, how cool would this be if we could do this with our t-shirts? Could you imagine? But I kind of think merch needs to be like how it is right now. But it is
Yeah,
really cool because I mean, I'll put in, I kind of have my own like little template of what I play with it. But I mean, I'm always mixing it up and stuff, and it feels so rebellious to just stuff it, and I love it. It's fun. It's a good change
it
of
is.
pace. Where can I find interior templates? Do you guys design them or have found templates? You have templates, right? Or
Yeah,
interior?
we have a few of them. If you go to bookbolt.io, so let me just do that right now and make sure I'm telling you the right thing. And it's going to be under the resources tab. Click on the interior wizard and then click on the button, the interior wizard button. It's going to bring up a script. One thing you should know: pick bleed for everything. That's basically make sure that it will pass the KDP review. Don't do blank books yet. The blank books are numbered, but if you're not going to add your own stuff to the interior, just don't do blank books. They're going to get denied, and you'll be mad at me. But you just essentially pick sheet music, college ruled, wide ruled, or journals. Pick a size, pick a page count, click download. It'll open up the PDF, and then you just download the PDF on your computer, and
And
then upload that.
please correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't even have to technically be a member of BookBolt to get the interiors, right?
Yeah, those are all free. So
Okay.
anyone that's watching this can just head over there and download them and sell them, and hopefully
That
it works.
can we use BookBolt to make coloring books?
So the interiors right now, what they do currently is there's 2 pages, right, like a book, and you make 1 page, you make 2 pages, and it's going to replicate those 2 pages over how many pages that you say. So I would say currently probably not. Something we can look into for sure, though, depending on how many people actually want to make coloring books. I feel like a lot of people probably won't be making coloring books because they're not actual artists. So it's probably a big opportunity for the people that are watching that
I think it
can
is.
draw. Like you can
Yeah.
draw. I
A
can't
little
draw.
Yeah, I've thought about doing the coloring books, and one of
Well,
one of
the
my
coloring
friends
books
on
don't have
here.
to be big. They can
No,
only 20 pages,
yeah, which is really cool, and I mean, you could really, I mean, kids love to color. I love to buy little coloring books for my kids all the time on Amazon. So there's
Have you looked at any of the adult coloring books?
no, I haven't, but I've heard about some.
They're hilarious. I feel like there's
And
a lot of opportunity there as well.
well, actually, I take that back. A couple years ago for Christmas, we got my sister-in-law, one of those sweary coloring books. So I
Yep.
guess I have, yeah.
Well, any kind of like really weird, illegal, not
Yeah.
illegal, but I'm just thinking like drug niches, stuff like that. I always try to like censor myself because the one time I did a video on a drug design, people just tore me a new one. But
Hey, if Amazon lets it up there, yell
yeah,
at
it
them.
sells. People buy it. I'm here to
Don't
make
tell the
money.
messenger, people. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But that kind of stuff is bought as a gag gift all the time. Like I've seen it in person all the time. At Christmas, at parties, stuff like that. People buy other people those like ridiculous. You wouldn't think they would sell. They're
I'm
not.
that customer.
Yeah, they're
That's
not for
me.
kids, not for kids. But they make money. Some of them make a lot of money.
Yeah, that sweary one, which I didn't even know it was KDP because I didn't even know about KDP until like a year ago or like since last August-ish, I think. And it's almost a year. And I had bought that for my sister-in-law 2 years ago. So when I found out that it was actually somebody in Catherine Shelton's group that made it, I was like, that is too funny. And then it's like, okay, I want to know more about this KDP stuff.
Nice. Okay, I'm looking at Amazon right now. The Calm the F Down,
That's
okay,
the
a coloring
one.
book.
That's the one.
2009 customer reviews. If that
Yeah.
doesn't tell you this thing is moving, bestsellers rank of 1,400 in books. So
Yeah, that's crazy because books,
they're
like the
making
way that
money.
their BSR is a lot different than the shirts, and that's a lot of movement.
They are making some money. All right, let's
Um,
see here.
I would use it if you did make the coloring books thing for the designer. I probably would. I don't know. I say that. I haven't even started doing anything with coloring books yet. I know RJ's talked about it. My friend BJ Dell, he did a whole video on it on his YouTube channel on how to create a coloring book, and that was pretty cool too. So
The thing with the
that's
coloring
the thing.
books is they're going to require more effort, and I think that's if anything in the print on demand space requires more effort, it's probably usually a good thing to differentiate yourself from other people.
That's kind of
This,
what I was thinking too. Like even just doctoring up your templates just a little bit, doing just a little bit more than what the person next to you is doing, you're gonna reap more benefit. That's kind of how I feel about it.
well, so many people just want free money without putting any effort in.
Oh heck, who
I
doesn't?
see
I mean,
I
do
see
you?
it all
I
the I
do.
see it all the time, and it's so frustrating because I see people putting actual effort in, making good money, and then I have these other people asking me like, what am I doing wrong?
It's like
And they're
yeah.
not trying. They're not. I don't want to berate people, but they need to actually like try to be different. And if the opportunity to put books up is now, then you should be doing that, or at least try it. Like you lose
And that's the
nothing.
thing. Well, I mean, who was even when we all started merch, were we good at merch? No. Have
No,
we gotten better at it? Absolutely. The more you put up, the more you learn, the more that you're trying to succeed at it. All of that eventually is going to pay off. I mean, I look at my designs from the beginning to now, and they're two completely different designs, but they were important building blocks to get me here. And it's the same thing with KDP.
yep.
If merch resize could add a feature to strip colors, that would be amazing.
Strip colors in what sense, Amy?
Don't know.
Have you uploaded your merch design so far? I am uploading strictly my merch designs currently, and they're selling. Um, the one caveat though is I am a lot of the designs. So I started off just doing black backgrounds, just simple black background text, design, whatever, download, upload, and that works pretty well. But as soon as I started adding backgrounds, that worked even better. So I'm kind of like doing a mix of those so far. And the good thing is I can do exactly that and upload as many as I want for as long as I want because there's no limits on KDP. So I can test anything.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about it too. No, she's talking about like for coloring books and existing designs. So if you like just erase all the color, and if merch resize could add that feature to just take the colors out of your designs so we could stick them in a coloring book, that would be amazing. I kind of agree. That would be
Interesting.
fun. That could probably maybe be done. I don't know. That's
Yeah, we could look
like
into that. I'm gonna have to start making a list here. Hold on. Remove color from designs. All right, I wrote it
yeah,
down, Amy. I'll look at it.
that's a good one, Amy. I like that too, cause yeah, especially like because I have a bunch of like kids stuff. If I could just get rid of the color. Matt, I don't even know how to pronounce this word. Matt,
Matt, like Matt Black
Mate. Okay, that or gloss. Which
or
one?
gloss.
Is it
Um,
design dependent?
it's literally up to you. So if I were you, put up 2 designs and order them. It's gonna cost you like $4, $5 each when you order your author. Or no, $4 or $5 total.
Yeah.
Order one matte and one gloss. I mean, literally, it doesn't make a difference. I don't think.
I like the matte, or I'll just say matte, and because it feels cool. It's nice and like soft.
Yeah.
But
I
the
also think the
glossy
matte
one
kind of
looks
looks a
nice and
little bit
clean.
upscale, but that might just be me.
That might be why I like it. I don't know. I'm not really an upscale person though, so I don't know. Are you selling on TeePublic or any other print-on-demand sites?
I think I have one design up on TeePublic, so huge seller there. Few things up on Etsy, but my girlfriend's mostly the Etsy seller, not me.
Oh,
She's
that's
put
cool. So she's doing the Etsy thing now.
Yeah, she's her shop has actually started to take off. The cool thing about Etsy is that I didn't realize this, but a lot of people contact you to ask if they can do like huge orders, like 40 shirts, 50 shirts. And so she got contacted, I don't know, maybe a month ago from this person that was like, "Hey, I really like this shirt that she designed, and I want to order 40 or 50 of them for my graduation. Like, can you do a discount?" She gave him like a 10% discount or something. And as soon as she did that huge order, all of a sudden her shop just like started taking off. So I think
That
that
is awesome.
so yeah, there's a and then I go in the groups and I watch Matt and RJ cleaning up on Etsy, and I also see people that don't want to deal with the customer service and everything. But I think you're really missing out if you're not actually. I mean, I just haven't gotten around to it. But
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity there because you can price your shirts. I mean, usually I like the economics of pricing
Yeah.
low. But with Etsy, that's a different customer base. That's completely different from Amazon. They like to spend money.
Now that reminds me when you brought up your girlfriend, are you going to be doing any more like case studies in the near future? Because those are really cool. Maybe for KDP.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing Kate. She literally just started and sold her book yesterday, like her first book yesterday. I think it was after 3 days of putting up 15, maybe. I mean, it was just merch designs, right? And she's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, I sold the book." So, I'm thinking about it. I think she's really got to get started. It'd be a pretty boring case study if she was only uploading 15.
A little
But
bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I'm definitely thinking about it because I need to get some content going that I've been working on. We just haven't released any of it yet.
Well, cool. I'm glad to hear that that's on the mind at least. Amy would like to know, how can we use Merch Informer for Etsy? That's a great question.
So we released an Etsy module kind of along with Pinterest. The way that I use Etsy research for merch, so that's kind of what I've been doing, is I go on Etsy and I look at what's it called? The traffic. I think it's just the traffic.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm
So
trying to help you out. I'm
I
like, I don't
almost said
know.
I had Pinterest in the back of my mind because that's what I use the majority of the time, not the Etsy one, the Pinterest one. Basically, what I'm using with those two modules, I'm looking for social proof that people actually care about said design in said niche,
Hmm.
right? Because I think a lot of people, or at least the comments I've gotten from people that message me, they send me their shirt design. They say, why isn't this selling? And I open it, and it's for like their second grandson twice removed, and it's only like a customer base of one person in the world. You have to make sure that enough people care, or there's enough people to actually buy your stuff.
No,
So,
that's
so I'm looking for
important.
repins. I'm looking for traffic. You can see inside a Merch Informer how many people actually saw a specific shirt on Etsy, and then that will tell you, okay, so that shirt is popular in that niche. So basically, we're going back to what we were talking about at the beginning. I'm looking for the overarching niche, and then I'm thinking of a way of how I can niche that design further down to a more specific target audience if I know that people actually care about it.
Now, real quick about that too. When you find a general thing that you're like, okay, how can what's underneath it? And when you start, peeling those layers, how do you start with that? Do you just like research the general niche and then something like sticks out to you from there and then you research that a little bit and continue on down? Because I know a lot of people struggle with, how do you niche down? How do you get into the smaller things that
Well, I think it's
reflect the general
different.
one?
It's different for each niche, right? So, like Pinterest, for example, what I'll do is I'll do a search and I'll find something general, in a big overarching niche. Let's just say sushi, for example, because that's what we were talking about before. And I will go in and I will see, I'll look at the niche and I'll think to myself, okay, what is under that niche? What who likes sushi, what people eat sushi, or what I'll do is I'll try to find a saying about sushi. So this is two strategies. One is I look for everything underneath it. So I'll look at all the products that are selling. I'll read all the descriptions and the keywords. What is underneath it? Chefs are underneath it. People that like fine dining are underneath it. Japan is underneath it. So that's one strategy. Or another one is I will go on Pinterest again, and I will try to find a phrase that actually is not on Merch by Amazon, which is so easy to do. There's so much stuff that isn't on Amazon at all in some of these huge niches. And I'll just cross-reference that to Amazon over and over again until I find stuff that's not on Amazon. Or I'll find stuff that maybe has 100 results. And then I'll think to myself, okay, here's this phrase. It's got 100 results. How can I switch it up where it still makes sense, but it's targeting the same people, but it's different, right? Because I want to stick out.
Yeah. See, so you're not copying people, everybody. No.
Well,
I know it's hard because people take it like, oh, you're copying, but you're really not. Like, not even a little bit. So I think that's
I don't.
really
I
really try to
seriously.
put your own spin.
I do not understand that argument. I would love to hear anyone explain this to me that runs a real business, how they can not look. Business isn't conducted in a bubble.
No,
Ford doesn't go, I'm going to make my new truck and not look what GM is putting out because they want to make a better product.
Yeah.
So
it all makes like we all get better because of others, I think,
Yeah, if you want to make shirts for yourself and sell one shirt a month, that's fine. But if you're in this to like make money, build a business, then you need to know what other people are selling so that you can be better at your game.
Now, have you found it that the more that you have been on merch, that it's easier for you to come up with your own spin on different phrases and stuff that you see is already selling?
Yes and no. It requires a little bit more work, simply because there's way more stuff out there. So I could come up with a phrase off the top of my head. I go to merchresearch.com just to check what's up there, and I might see 4,000 results and be like, what? Like, that's a little weird. I literally thought of that at lunch. I came downstairs. And it happens all the time, right? And then you got to take a step back and you have to think to yourself, you're not super special. That phrase doesn't belong to you, even though you thought about it without seeing anything else. And people get really angry about that. Just step back. If you can remove yourself from the designs, that's another reason I think people get so mad. Is people, they spend time or money on designs. They get so attached that they feel that they have to price at this price, they have to sell at this price, and because they made that design, no one else in the entire world is allowed to enter that niche or use that phrase or something. So if you can remove yourself, it's so much easier to come up with like different stuff once you see what's out there.
And it helps take the pressure off too, so you can really start going in deeper and being inspired more and more creative, because you're not just focused on mine and having that, I don't know if you would even call it like the scarcity mentality, but I know I struggled with that for a while, especially in the beginning, because if I had an idea and then somebody else kind of came up behind me with a similar idea, it's like, shame on you. Like, because I was so attached to what I had put in. And now that it's like, okay, I already know what's going to happen. If I come up with a winner, I already know what's going to happen. And that's okay. I can be a little bit upset at times if it's a straight up blatant copy. I can take care of it as well.
And we're not saying that you should straight up copy people, or that you shouldn't be upset with people pixel for pixeling your stuff. That's not what we're talking about. Like,
no, but it's important though that you do kind of take that personal investment that you have in your designs and like step back from it so that you can just focus on the business aspect. I probably just butchered everything I just tried to say.
Well, yeah, because that's what matters though. If you spend 90% of your time complaining and not, doing, you're going to reap the benefits of not working, which is, we see that all the time. But if you spend 90% of your time actually working on your craft, improving, like, you're going to come out ahead.
Yeah. And I think that's important. And then of course you can spend more time, figuring out what the next niche are. And I mean, there's probably tons of niches out there right now that haven't even began to scratch the surface.
Well, I used to be big into SEO, search engine optimization, big affiliate websites, stuff like that. And there's some study out there that says, something like 60 or 70% of all new searches in Google, like new searches in Google, are completely new. They've never been searched before on the web. So, and those are long tail keywords, right? I would assume that the same is similar for Amazon because they are a search engine. That's what it is. So, I mean, new niches are literally popping up all the time, and there is demand there. So even if you search on KDP and you're looking around and you don't see anything in that specific niche, it doesn't mean that it's a seller. Or, I mean, it doesn't mean that it's not a seller. Yeah. It just means that maybe someone hasn't tapped that market yet, and that you could be the first one.
And it's worth trying, right?
Yeah. And that being said, though, if you can look on Etsy, if you can look on Pinterest and see that people are interested in that niche, and you know there's buyers there, then you know that if you put something up on Amazon, like, it should sell eventually in book form. And the thing with books is you can put them up and they're never coming down. Like, you put them up once, you never have to go back. So, maybe it takes 6 months for you to make that sale. But do you really care if you have 10,000 books making, a sale every few months? Like, it's good money.
Yeah, I mean, it all adds up. And one thing that we like to say all the time is it really is a marathon, not a race. Now, you want to invest your time in it, and you want to, work your business, but right. You can really take time with it because it isn't going anywhere, especially with KDP. And then right out the bat too, you're not limited to just 10 books. You can really go deep in it really quickly. And
some people like gravitate towards the books. Like, I know some people in the community that literally sell more like on KDP through print on demand books than they do on merch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. So that's why I think that everyone should at least give it a try. I mean, if you seriously hate it and you're like, this isn't for me, then that's fine. But if you have any extra time or downtime or something, like, it takes 5-10 minutes to get up your first book if you're not familiar with what you're doing, you owe it to yourself to put a few up and just see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember the first couple books was a little bit tricky because you're learning something new. But then after that, it's really not that difficult, especially with tools, where you can get the interiors already made for you, or tools like the Book Bolt Designer and things like that that really, really help. So,
well, what's funny is that after I said that, I realized that's literally how I started on merch. I uploaded a few designs. I checked 4 or 5 days later, and I sat there and I was like, someone actually bought this? No way. And those first few sales are literally the most important of any business that you start because it proves the concept that it works.
I agree. I remember in merch, my very first payout was $19.80. And nice. To this day, that was the coolest almost $20 that I've ever made ever. And
yep.
when that happened, it's like, okay, if I can do that, I can totally double it or triple it or quadruple it. And I've just applied that all along the way. Like, if you can sell one shirt, you can sell 10. If you can sell 10, you can sell 100. And the same thing applies to KDP. All it takes is one sale. And if you get that sale, it confirms that you can actually make money doing this. Don't give up and keep at it. I mean, that's
kind of what I was talking about with, backing in. So as soon as you get those first few sales, you're like, okay, I put in this much effort. I made this much money. I just have to replicate that this many times to get to this goal,
Yeah.
And that's always fun.
That's true. Of course, I don't look at from the data aspect like you do. I wish my brain worked like that, but it doesn't, because then it's like, okay, what were those steps and how do you replicate that? So.
Right. Well, another good thing with KDP is that you can actually use VAs.
Can VAs upload for you? Because I was under the impression that they could not.
Yep,
they can.
They can on KDP.
Really?
Yes. So once you get going, I wouldn't recommend doing that right away. I mean, I clearly wouldn't.
After you kind of have a good feel for how it all works, how to do your keywords and everything. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I didn't think they could.
If you think about it, a full-time VA costs $300 to $400, so that's only like maybe 100, 200 sales a month on KDP, which isn't that hard to hit once you actually get going. So if you think of it in that terms, you can have someone working full-time for you by just putting in a little effort up front to get all your designs up. I mean, that's kind of how I thought with merch too. If I can get this many designs up by myself, right? I proved the concept. I just took all this money that I made from my first initial designs and I shoved it over here and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't design at all. So I hired a designer. I mean, he's been with me for years now. So I just reinvested the money, and that's how you build a business. You don't sit there yourself doing every single step yourself
Yeah,
over
I
and
need
over
I need
till
to
you just can't stand it anymore.
I need to listen to that advice. I really do. You might have just changed the game for me, so I'm glad you said that.
Well, you should definitely. I mean, hiring people that's a pain. I'm not gonna
Oh, I'm sure it will
sugarcoat it,
be.
but I
But
think it's
once you
worth it.
find the person that is the right
Oh
fit
yeah.
for you, then like you said, it's worth it. Um, okay, Joe's asking us, brand new to KDP, Neil and Amy, how much profit are you making on these books? $1 or $2?
It's about $2 a book,
Yeah.
depending on where you price it. All right, so I'm pricing it $6.99. I think that's $1.90, something like that. It depends on what you're doing though. So like, if you were to take the time to make an extensive wedding planner interior, now if you just go over to Etsy right now, I was talking with Jacob Bates the other day. I was searching on Etsy, and we were talking about wedding interiors, wedding planners. I could not believe the prices people were getting for these things, like 20,
Yeah.
30, $40. And you can, if it's something that people will pay for, right? Like you can get that kind of pricing, but you have to put in the effort. So it depends on what you're doing. The stuff that I'm currently doing is very low effort on my part. It's just the simple journal interiors, and I'm focusing mostly on the covers. So I feel like a fair price point for that is, around $7. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing currently.
I'm about $1 more than you. So about the same. And that's for my my journals. I price them right around $7.99.
Right. I mean, I haven't had the chance to actually test out for KDP if there's much difference between $6.99, $7.99. I would assume anything under $10 is probably like an instant buy if someone wants it and likes it.
Yeah, that's
That's
kind of
my
what I
guess.
feel too. Because it's like I know for me as a shopper, especially in my more frugal moments, 5.99 and $7.99 aren't going to make too much of a difference for
Yeah, I
me.
feel like that's in the thought process of a shopper. That's pretty much the same. It's
Yeah.
under $10. Yeah, we were talking about earlier. So I don't know. It's something that I should definitely test and write about, I guess.
Yeah, please do write about it. Um, seeing if I've missed anything.
I just took a picture of a mountain. Oh, that's awesome.
He's not wrong. How
He's
dare
not.
they? I was here first. Yeah. Um, is there anything that you'd like to share, like what you're doing, with like what the future looks like for Book Bolt or Merch Informer, if you can maybe
Yeah,
even touch
so
on those or
with Merch Informer, with the pop socket thing, we clearly need to update our lister. So that'll probably happen hopefully soon. I need to actually look into that. It just happened. Book Bolt, we're working on the keyword section. So that's currently under development. Taking a little bit longer than I thought, but we'll get it done. We are currently running. I don't know if I think Amy has a coupon for it. A lifetime subscription to BookBolt. We're getting something really, really big that I just shared with her before this that people will want to get on. So make sure you're familiar with the designer and BookBolt and everything. So later this month we should have something pretty good for people who are doing KDP.
oh great. I love being put under suspense. No,
We'll
I'm kidding.
we'll
No,
see. We'll
actually,
see.
honestly, like with the Book Vault and everything, I know right now it's in beta and stuff, but it's like if it's anything like Merch Informer, it's just it's gonna get it's gonna be important. So
Yeah, and we took the time to work out the majority of the bugs and everything. I think they're all gone. It took us a while, but they're all gone. Everything works. I basically been using it every day because I'm focusing on KDP right now. I like to focus on where there's less competition, just in general with any business. So that's what I'm doing because no one's doing it. Um, I would suggest that people at least try. You don't need the software. It helps. It saves time. But if you don't want to use it, then just upload a few books. Like do yourself a favor, upload a few books and see what happens because there's literally a lot of money to be made for people who put some effort in here. and it's a great segue for merch. Like, it's the perfect side business.
And I just have just like one or two more questions for you while we wrap this up. What have you found to be similar in your research between merch and KDP, and what is different about how you research merch and KDP?
So with merch, it's more about keywords and more about niching down those keywords in order to get in front of people. And I think that is specifically because there's a lot more people doing merch, and you really need to narrow down your keywords. So it's all about the keywords. It's all about the bullet points. Speaking on the bullet points, I think that people should take the opportunity to use the bullet points to get in the keywords in a coherent sentence, but that's also like your only spot to sell the customer on your design.
Yes.
Like, you can be salesy. You can actually like attempt to make it sort of like a sales page to tell the customer why they need to buy this shirt now. Now, that being said, Amazon takes care of most of the getting them to buy box, yada, yada, yada. But I think it's definitely important there. With KDP, I'm mostly just looking at designs as a whole and how they're laid out, and kind of I don't know how to put it, like a cutesy factor. Is that a thing?
It is now.
You know,
It's made it a thing.
that's what I'm looking for, because I feel like it's a different buyer than clothing. It's definitely a different buyer. That being said, like, the same designs work though.
And how important do you think keywords are in the back end for KDP? Do they? I mean, they obviously hold weight. That's how you get. I'm assuming how you get eyes on your books.
They hold a lot of weight. That being said, they don't hold as much weight now, because I mean, you could put in a few keywords and still get seen because there's 0 other books. Now, you know, a year or two from now, 3 years from now, if there's 10,000 books in the unicorn niche, well, now your 4 keyword book is going to be lost probably because you put 4 keywords in the back end. So I've always advocated for doing things right the first time. So I think they're definitely something. I mean, that's literally the part that takes the longest time for me, because you have to fill them all out. And if you can max out those 50 characters for each box, I think it's definitely going to help in the long run.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any more questions? Or hang on, let's see. I think we do. Do you sell any physical products, Neil? I know you used to do FBA.
I used to, and I hated it. I got my stuff stuck in customs so many times, so I was like, I'm done with this. That was the funny thing is, that was before I knew that Facebook groups for all this stuff existed. So I didn't know anyone. It was just me, and I was so lost trying to get everything done. So once I found merch and KDP, I was like, yeah, I'm done with that. It's so much easier.
You don't have to deal with people. I mean, unless you have like VAs or you want to, like with Etsy. But
yeah.
With BookBolt, the centering guideline, is that are you gonna be able to have that like auto center on like just the front page versus?
Oh, the centering. Okay, so to turn that on, don't select any layer, and in the upper right hand corner, it's called auto snap. Turn that on, and that's how you get those lines.
No, I think what he's saying is not like the middle of the entire thing. He's saying just on the front page part. Is there a way to like center that?
Those lines should help you put it in the center. It's not going to put it like it'll show you vertical lines, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look at that, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, that's how I've been using it. It's just the auto snap and then dragging around and making sure as soon as the line shows up, that's where I drop it.
Okay, because I know like on my end, it always snaps right there in the middle of the spine. And then I just kind of have to eye it from there. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's when you first like click on the image to put it in the design view, right?
Obviously, I'm gonna have to play around with it a little bit more. And we need to be able to set guidelines on BookBolt. That's not a bad idea. But you know what? Even at its like basic function right now, I mean, I think it's great. But that wouldn't be a bad idea. Adding guidelines.
Do you mean guidelines as like the?
But I mean,
like the Photoshop ruler at the top, is that what you're talking about?
I know for me, when I'm using the designer, I'm looking at where the bleed area is and just kind of.
Right, because you want all your text to be inside the bleed area. If people aren't familiar with that.
Or they'll kick it back. I've had that done.
They will.
Even if it's just like a pixel.
Something I should also mention in this live, if people haven't done KDP, if you upload to KDP and everything is the way it should be, you're going to get some rejections for no reason. Like, it happens. They're going to say this was off or this was off. It doesn't count as a strike against your account.
No,
you can just
not
go
like
in
that.
and you can just edit the book and fix whatever they said. Or if there was actually nothing wrong with your book, you just put it through again. Because I've had things where I use the same interior and the same cover. I'll upload it 10 times, and 9 will go through and 1 will get kicked back. Nothing was different. So I'll just
I've
go
had
in
that
and
happen so many times
submit
too.
it again, and it goes through the next day. Not a big deal. It's not a strike.
Yeah, just got a moody reviewer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, because every single book through KDP is reviewed by a real person. It's not like merch where it's like a bot searching for keywords or something that you typed in that was trademarked. It's a real person. And on that note, book titles, unless they're part of a series, cannot be trademarked. So you will not deal with a bunch of trademark trolls.
Which is nice. But
Yes.
you can't like
You can't put Harry Potter in your title.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't do that. But I mean,
or in your back end either. Like,
if you just have a phrase that says, I love being a unicorn hunter, whatever.
or Mama Bear, put up.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
The Mama Bear
No
journals
one
you
can
want.
come down and take down your books because you put just random phrases on them, because they can't be trademarked.
All right, let's see. How do you get through the keyword stuffers? I can still research a word and get loads of design which have nothing to do with that word. I think that's just.
Are you talking about in Book Bowl, or are you talking about just like on Amazon? If you're talking about on Amazon, I wouldn't pay any attention to that like at all. Focus on your back end keywords, because that is ultimately that and your title. So make sure you use the subtitle, also very important. You can put some keywords in there, but make it short and sweet, make it make sense. But your back end keywords are kind of how you're going to outrank all the trash that people put up. A lot of people are putting up books. They might be doing FBA. They might have a supplier from someone else. They're going through Seller Central. And if you're using, KDP, then you have the backend keywords, which helps so much.
Honestly, the keyword stuffers, or like when you're doing research and the things come up that have no relevancy to what you're searching for, those used to like aggravate me. But now, I kind of like them because they're only hurting themselves, which is going to help me once they end up getting their BSR pushed all the way down to the bottom because it's not relevant. But I don't know.
Well, yeah, because people will type a search in, right? And they'll be like, okay, I'm looking for
I love unicorns.
I love unicorns, and they come across a sloth picture. So maybe they click on it, or maybe they click on it and then they're like, I don't want this, and they click back. And if Amazon tracks all that data and they say, okay, 100 customers clicked on this and immediately clicked back. Well, we clearly don't want to show that to people. It's not making us money.
Nope.
So
they just kick
it down the results, and I mean that just really screws up your entire account. On KDP and on merch, you need to make the listing like what's visible to the user, good for the customer. If it's not good for the customer, Amazon doesn't want you selling.
But as far as research goes, I mean, that's kind of just part of it. You gotta, go through the muck a little bit.
It's Jacob Bates. What's your question?
Is Neil so selfish?
I'm never selfish, Jacob. You should know that.
See, I don't even know where that came from. I always go to sleep too early when you guys do your merch after darks.
We haven't done one of those in a long time. No, you haven't.
It's like you guys talking about peanut butter earlier. I'm just like, I obviously was sleeping when that happened. So.
Yep, probably.
Do you have any last things to say, or we can wrap this up?
I think we're good. Just everyone should just give it a shot. Check out BookBolt. There's a lot of free stuff there. Your interiors, the trial's free, so go sign up, test it out.
Yeah, definitely worth at least the 3 days. I mean, it's not going to hurt. I really just want to thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed this. I've taken a lot out of it, and really just thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys.